we finished Weasels Rip My Flesh. It played for audiences in 1980, in the spring of 1980, and it had such a positive response that we decided we were immediately going to go into another feature. So that summer, we discussed what we were going to be doing, and we realized that this next thing was going to be a much larger affair. So by the October of 1980, we started shooting Long Island Cannibal Massacre. We decided to do something more serious, on a more serious level, but we still had the same limitations that we had on the first picture. The difference was here is that we basically now knew the workings and what our limitations were, so we were not going to tread on ground that we knew we couldn't possibly deal with. So we assembled a cast. That was John Smahula again, and Fred Borges again, and an assemblage of people, friends and acquaintances, who agreed to do the film. My stars on the first two movies, John Smahula and Fred Borges, I should mention that these films would not exist if it wasn't for their involvement in those two pictures. As I've said several times, I like to refer to us as myself, Fred Borges, John Smahula, as Le Trio Infernal, because when we were going, nothing could get in our way. We mow down forests, but I would never mow down a forest. We usually mow down people. But John, in particular, since he was on all four pictures, amazing character. We both loved film, and anybody else would have quit long before. Now, Fred was terrific, but Fred was the kind of guy that was impossible to get there. You know, he was always, when we did Weasels Rip My Flesh, every day John was on time and Fred would show up 2 hours late or not show up at all and blow everything. And this happened all through the Long Island Cannibal Massacre. Fred was always late, never on time. But when he was there, when Fred was there, everything was perfect. He was incredible. He was wonderful. And John, of course, was always there on time and always raring to go. So they're just as much a part of the creation of these pictures as I am, because if it wasn't for John's energy and his devotion to all four of these movies, they would not exist. And so it's a testimonial to having a friend as good as John and Fred, that one must be thankful that you have people like that working by your side, partners, as you would call it, good partners. So the violence in this movie is certainly several steps ahead of Weasels Rip My Flesh, and but the way I approached the gore or the violence in this film was really the only sequence in the film that sort of is on the level of something that's gratuitous, is the disemboweling scene, because of the camera holes on the stomach as the innards are removed. But most of the violence that occurs later on in the picture was designed to be quick and edited very and worked in the editing. I worked very hard to get the effects in this particular movie to be as effective as possible. That's why the chainsaw scene at the end is as convincing as it is, and as dangerous as it looked. um, but the violence is portrayed in this particular movie is different than that in most low budget pictures of the same nature, because there have been many low budget horror films made that portray graphic gore, but what we tried to do on this film was make it a bit more complex, and that was to commingle the, violence and the psychology of the characters at the same time, without it just being violence for violence sake. And everything that happens in the film, I didn't feel that it was just there for the sake of being there, just for the sake of showing an arm cut off or whatever. Everything that happens within the context of the characters' psyches. The father warned the son not to return, and he did. He said it would be the living hell, come for its due, if he did come back. The father has now progressed to a state, of course, it's surreal in nature, because nobody could survive what the punishment the father takes from gunshots and chainsaw attacks. But the father is now beyond that. He's a genuine, bona fide monster that is essentially invulnerable. And yes, he could be killed if the son were able to overwhelm him, but he didn't. And when he is overcome by the father, the gore, the violence that follows, is not just is not simply a display of violent effects. It is carrying out what the father said he would do. Now, what else? If he said that he warned him, he told him that something horrible would happen if they were to meet again. Now, what else could possibly happen? The father is going to destroy him. He is going to make him suffer the fires of hell. And instead of killing him outright, he impales him. He tears his tongue from his body, and then instead of using his own strength to tear him apart, he picks up the chainsaw that the son intended to use to destroy his father, and instead uses this saw, the same weapon intended for his father, against his son, and does it slowly. He intentionally cuts him to pieces so he would live until the last drop of blood leaves his body. So if you notice, he cuts his arms, and he cuts his chest slowly, and he cuts his fingers, and he cuts his leg, and then finally, when the son is passed out from loss of blood, which there is apparently a lot of, he removes the head. But of all four pictures, the one that was the scene that was probably the most difficult to do was the chainsaw scene at the end. That literally was the first time I was not just physically drained, but emotionally drained, because I spent so much time on the effects. It took 4 days to shoot that simple chainsaw scene, that quick scene because of all the setups necessary for that sequence. And I remember at one point after we were finished, and there was nothing, and I was standing in that area alone, and there was nothing but glue all over the place, and I was just standing around this this massacre that had occurred, this Long Island Cannibal Massacre, and I was completely like, it was the first time I was just standing there, and I looked around and I actually questioned, what am I doing? I mean, what is all this for? I mean, I was so tapped, I had no more feeling for anything, and mercifully it passed. A friend of mine knew Rick Sullivan from the Gore Gazette, and he said, I think people would like to see your movies in the city. And I said, I never thought about that. And so he contacted Rick Sullivan, and he told Rick that I know this guy who's got these movies, and I think that you should play them at your festival every week. And so Rick had never seen them, and he said, okay, well, have him bring them down, and we'll screen them. And I said, wait a minute, I mean, don't you want to see them first? He goes, no, I heard they're really good. And I said, but wait a minute, don't you want to see them first? And he said, no, don't worry about it. I heard that they're excellent. And I said, yeah, but people are paying to see these movies. Don't you want to see them first? And he said, don't worry about it. I heard from trustworthy people that they're good. So I went over there I think the first one was Long Island Cannibal Massacre, and the audience was packed. He put an ad in the Village Voice, and I was mortified because now it suddenly hit me that people have paid $7 a head and to a packed house to see this movie that I made, and I suddenly panicked because now I realized, I said, wait a minute now, this isn't friends sitting around watching it for free. This is a paying audience of strangers. And I had to work the projector because nobody knew how. I couldn't leave and escape in case, something went terribly wrong. But amazingly enough, not only did it go over well, but the audience absolutely adored the picture, and it had several showings. And then Rick wanted to, he said, do you have any more? And I said, yeah, I have 3 more. And I was afraid to show those. No, actually, I had 2 more. I didn't make Vermilion Eyes at that time. So I had Weasels, and so I showed They Don't Cut the Grass Anymore, and of course that was a big hit because of the graphic violence in it. A lot of people saw that. That was also a packed house. And the one that I was afraid to show was Weasels Rip My Flesh, because that was the tamest of the bunch. And so I said, oh well, the films now have gotten some kind of a following, but what are they going to think of this movie that has a giant rodent and not that much gore? And so that one I said, Rick, maybe we shouldn't play that one. Maybe we should play Long Island Cannibal Massacre again or something. Or maybe you should rent The Undertaker and His Pals and play that instead. And he said, no, bring over Weasels Rip My Flesh. I said, but Rick, it's not the kind of movie that your audience may go for. It's not, it's not as, it's tame. Bring it over. So I brought it, and they loved it. I couldn't believe that the audience really dug that picture, despite the fact that it was not, because the movie indicates that there's going to be a massive weasel attack, and really there isn't that much weasel attacking in the picture. So that was That was quite a revelation when those films played at St. Mark's Place in the Dive, I believe, in Manhattan, and they went over extremely well. And the I was utterly horrified while they were playing, but they loved it. Although I did hear murmurings in the audience, and it made me realize that Long Island. I felt like Long Island was another country because I heard murmurings, and several people said, "Is that what people from Long Island are like?" And why would they be saying that? I mean, w- that was a very strange. Did they think people from Long Island were cannibal lepers? Did they think that they were hillbillies? Did they think that giant weasels only existed on Long Island? So I thought that was interesting. That was an amusing comment. There were many comments like that. So I think that the essence of the attraction towards these pictures for the people who seem to enjoy them and like them for what they are is those who understand and keep in mind that these are Super 8 productions. They are low budget Super 8 films. Now, I have never seen a Super 8 picture with a frame that big that has been able to captivate an audience or affect them the way they have. If I had a legitimate budget and used the same stories, and but were able to hire professional actors and have polish, which these films, of course, are lacking. I think that they would be, I'm not going to speculate, but they'd certainly be something uh, you know special, because they seem to be special in their own right as Super 8 films, uh, as they exist now, and that's the surprising thing, is that so many people have reacted positively to these Super 8 features shot on in the Super 8 format, which again, polish is what people react to these days, and if something is very crude and cheap, it's forgotten. But so what we were essentially doing is we were trying to make Hollywood pictures on Super 8 for $400, and it seemed to work. Something worked, and I'm glad it did.